Hey, all you holistic hipsters out there, it's that time. So grab your chalice of choice and sit back and sip along with us. We would love to welcome you to the Tea Podcast, where we spill the tea on all things holistic in the pet grooming industry. Let me introduce you to our hostesses with the mostesses.
She is the socialite of skin and coat care, Ms. Michelle Knowles.
And the queen bee of all things oily, Ms. Melissa Conti-Diener. Brought to you by TheOilyGroomer.com. Are you searching for a new and more mindful way of grooming? Interested in understanding how to grow your grooming business with a more holistic and organic approach? Please contact Melissa Conti-Diener at TheOilyGroomer.com so that you can set up a meeting and bring balance and prosperity to your life. And AllThingsPaw.com. Intermediate and advanced courses in pet esthetician work, fear recovery, animal handling, and more. Get your learn on with All Things Paw. Also, classes with Melissa, online and self-guided, intuitive energy work, transitional therapy, and compassionate touchpoint therapy, and more. And the Herbal Paw Pet Apothecary, tailored for the individual pet, phone consultations, history gathering, and the home of the Herbal First Aid Kit.
Now, let's get the tea party started.
All right. Welcome. Here we are. We woke up again.
Yes.
Okay. Sometimes that's all you have.
You cling to that.
Exactly.
This is a very clingy morning for me. I'm clinging desperately to it.
Well, good morning, Miss Melissa.
Good morning, Michelle.
How are things on your end of the tea table?
Just peachy. I'm recovering from a kidney stone.
Mm-hmm.
Like all things in fabulousness that I do, I don't just show up and do everything wonderfully. I also create things, which I said to my doctor, I just don't understand. Why does it have to be so ugly? Why can't I make diamonds or rubies or pearls? Why does it have
why a kidney stone?
Yeah, why a kidney stone? I would love like a marquee diamond. For all the pain I have to go through, couldn't I at least get something beautiful out of it?
I hear that.
But I'm recovering today with what's in my teacup, which is, of course, one of my favorite teacups from Erin, my little queen bee cup with some lavender and chamomile, because I need the chamomile, which is has some anesthetizing properties to it. Yeah. So I need that, and I need the lavender just to calm my body down after practically giving birth to.
You might want to try marshmallow as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Marshmallow is really good for just making all the tissues feel okay. They calm everything down. So that might be helpful for you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I do have some marshmallow root. So I will definitely do that. This will be a very tea drinking day for sure.
For sure.
What's in your cup?
I have my favorite blend. It's warming and it feels good, and it's kind of been rainy here and overcast. So, I just feel like that's really warm, and I got it in my little owl mug, care of Erin Shank. We love her so much. And yes, if you look inside, you can see it's inside too. It's just a little bird saying hello.
So cute.
How about you, dear?
Erin always finds the good mugs. Our challenges are usually Erin's first choice. So
yes. She has a talent.
Yes. It's the gift that keeps giving. Mm-hmm. So I have to say. So what are we discussing today? Now that I've survived this harrowing experience.
Right, right. And we're
And
all
maybe,
half asleep because it is early for us here, even though we all get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. We're tired. Those pinatas that have the cones all over them with the things. Well, that's what my candle looks like, and all the points are on fire.
oh,
My candle is lit. Okay.
yes, yeah.
So today we're going to talk about.
Burn the candle at all ends, right?
Yes, yes. Today we're talking about touch, like massage or being near, laying hands. Reach out and touch somebody's paw.
I love it.
So that's what we're talking about today.
Who here is a touchy-feely kind of person?
Yeah,
I know you're not.
I'm not so much, except if it's a dog.
Right.
And then because it's not like I hate being touched. It's just that it's so intimate to share energy with someone for me that you have to be judicious about what energy you share. And if I don't know you that well, I don't hate you, but I'm just going to reserve sharing energy with you until I find out if it's positive or negative or neutral or whatever. Right. So, I mean, I'm just judicious about the people that I touch. And I don't think that's a bad thing, but I love your open heart. Melissa will touch.
Yeah.
She's huggy-feely.
Yeah, I am. Yesterday was National Hug Day.
So, I did not know that. How appropriate.
Yeah. So I know. So I am a hugger. I will hug. I will shake hands. When I talk to somebody, I usually will put a hand like on a shoulder, or I'll touch an elbow, their elbow. I never realized it so much until one of my students who was not a touchy-feely kind of person. And she said to me, usually I don't like people in my personal space, and I usually don't like people touching me, but I don't feel like that when you're talking to me, or when you touch me, it doesn't feel like that. And I said, well, good, because I never want it to feel invasive. Right. For me, it's, it's just for me to just relay that I'm interested in you and that I care about you. And so it's an act of affection for me. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's the same thing that those of us that deal with animals, it's an act of affection. Mm-hmm. We're genuinely wanting to share that loving energy with them. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I agree with that. And a huge amount of what we do is pushing positive or healing thoughts into a pet. Right. And that's really important. And if you're any kind of empathic or very impressionable, easily affected by others' energy, right, it's important to be very judicious about who you touch. I know you, Melissa, very well, and you can hug me all day long. I don't mind that. But we know each other. You know what I mean? Absolutely. So I know that I can be open and take in whatever energy you're giving because it all comes from a really good place. Yeah. But sometimes people will go to touch my shoulder, and I literally physically flinch. I'm like, oh, okay, you're touching me. Yeah. I have a really raw nervous system, evidently.
I love when I go in for a hug with somebody that's not used to not
and
hug.
It's like,
and they're like, yeah, and they're like, oh, okay, we're hugging. Okay, all right, okay.
Okay, we're gonna do this, right? Is this what we're doing?
And then I'm always like, that wasn't so bad. And they're usually like, yeah, that really wasn't that bad. No, I usually am trying to leave you with some, especially if I just, because I'm an empath, I do pick up on the fact that if somebody is, I'm the person that if somebody's crying, I start crying. I can pick up on that energy. So if I'm talking with someone and I just feel like, man, they really are just trying to hold it all together right now, a hug is usually imminent. So I apologize ahead of time if I invade anyone's personal space. It's never meant, to be foul or, anything that's a negative experience. I'm just trying to share all that abundance that overflows within inside of me. So it's and it's the same for dogs. Some dogs are like, excuse me.
They're exactly like that, because talk about empath. Dogs live in energy, and they
Right.
already can smell your intent as you
Yeah.
approach them. And if you're going to touch them, they're just like, I don't think you're coming right with that
Yeah.
feeling.
Oh, hello, White. He's gonna
So you
lick
have a
the butter.
visitor.
Yeah, he's gonna lick the butter off my toast.
Sweet.
It
You
is.
didn't need that much butter anyway.
It's no, I didn't. It's farm fresh. It's right.
Right.
It's sweet cream. So Oh, hello,
Yeah.
sir. You're not supposed to be on the tea this morning. And that's my little old senile guy. Apparently, we're under attack by the Huns. So he does that on occasion. All right, White. No putting your butt in the camera. Sorry, sir.
That was his main goal anyway.
Yeah, it's always his main goal is to come right here, turn
You
around.
need to see my butthole.
That is a cat's main goal at all times. So.
Oh, that would be a good soundbite.
Yeah. Oh, get your. Oh, he's such a pass. If I wanted him up here, he would be.
Okay. Anybody who can make a meme out of that soundbite,
Yes.
I will send some dewdrops to. I swear to you. The first person to do that, I'll send some dewdrops to. That was amazing.
Very distressed because it's cold and rainy out.
Yes, it is. It's very cold and rainy.
Yeah, he likes to go lay in the garden where I have my big chairs. I have a big wicker chair set out there with cushions and all that stuff. And he likes to lounge and watch the birds come to the bird feeder. Occasionally bop them on the head and murder them, which
it's his favorite.
Yes. A cat, here he comes again. I told you, he's not going to give up. He doesn't give up easily. He's no quitter. So,
So Miss Melissa, what are some of the modalities that we can use in our practice that require touch or that use intentional touch? Well, the ones I know of are like Tellington touch and straight up massage. But what can the person who does not really know about massage, like how do they use touch?
Well, shameless plug, you can learn how to use my compassionate touch point therapy, which is the method I developed, which is a combination of things like Tellington touch, acupressure, what was the other one you said? Totally flew out, brain fart.
Just touch.
Just massage, general massage techniques. But if you don't have any background or any knowledge in those things, the easiest thing you can do is what I teach my students, my grooming students every day, which is always have what we call the passive or the mother hand on the dog. So, or the cat, if you're working with a cat. And it's the helper hand. It's your non-dominant hand, because we never want to dominate. We always want to we don't want to do anything to the dog or cat. We want to do things for the animal, which changes up our intent, which has to be a huge part of what we're doing, is setting that intent. And the intent is not, this is the way this grooming session is going to go from start to finish. The intent should be more, I'm going to listen to what this dog is showing me, because they can't verbalize to you. So you have to listen with your eyes and also your ears for, growls and barks and other sounds. But by using that non-dominant hand, or they call it the mother hand as the loving hand, that instantaneously connects you to that animal. So I call that plugging in. So that is a real important thing to me. I teach my students to, when they first go out to do their assessment and check in their dog, to literally, with no thought behind it besides, this is just a loving touch. And so it's, I have to see where I could put my toast at, because I have Rugrats over here trying to get everything. Oh, excuse me. My cat is standing in front of the screen. So he
almost had it. He almost had the shot.
That's why. So yeah, it's about setting that intent and about just never doing anything deep or hard for that touch. Your light, loving touch is enough to shift energy very,
Mhm.
very easily.
Mhm.
So,
And if you've, I'm sure most everybody's heard of when you lay hands on someone to pray for them or whatever, you're actually sharing your actual electromagnetic energy with that person, and then intentionally putting a thought in that. Bless you. I hope you feel better, or
right,
become prosperous so you can pay that bill, or whatever it is,
right,
someone's sick in the family, laying on of hands, you are electric, and you're actually sharing
yeah,
your electricity. And strangely enough, you emit a field of energy 6 feet away from you.
yeah. That's your heart resonance.
Hmm. That's strange, but true. And it's very measurable. They've
Yeah.
actually can measure that.
So it's not all just woo woo.
It's
There's
not just woo-woo at all. You need to
yeah,
stop doing that. I'm going to make it my mission this year I'm not accepting woo-woo anymore.
yeah.
Woo-woo is not woo-woo.
No, the
Woo-woo is something like, yeah, the rocks are talking to me and they are telling me to, kidnap somebody or whatever.
yeah.
That's probably woo-woo. That's woo-woo. That's neurological. Okay, fine. But I refuse to accept woo-woo for something that we know is real. It's not woo-woo. It's real. It's measurable. And we know that it's there.
Yeah. Uh,
Put my foot down, Melissa.
all right. All right. It's just a lot of people are afraid to step into that power, into their power.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it's a divine right. I believe that we're given the universe or God or Great Spirit, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I believe that we are born with that right to come into our own power. We're given these powers. And that's not meaning that we are, as I sit here and pet my white fluffy cat like Dr. Evil, power, but it means that we have the power to actually help heal and help change other lives, not just human lives, animal lives as well. And I mean, I do energy work on my plants. I have a pothos that at Christmas time I got these planters that had a beautiful poinsettia, and then it had spider plants all in one big planter. And if you've ever seen some of my pictures and stuff, I mean, I love plants. So, and it had pothos in it, and I took it all apart, deconstructed it when the poinsettia died, which they will do. It's not meant to last forever. And my pothos just was like, and did not like I transplanted it 3 different times and used 3 different remedies to bring it back up, and get it perky. And it was just so sad. And so every morning I would do a little bit of energy work on it. And, along with the other herbal waters that I'll pour in there that will help the soil and the root. And it has come back beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm so happy. And I talk to my plants, and I'm
Well,
not.
talking to your plants is actually scientific as well. Everybody's like, oh, you talk to your plants? Plants, the food they need to intake is sunlight and carbon dioxide. We
Right.
breathe out what they need for food, and they breathe out what we need to live and breathe in. So talking to your plants is really important. I will go out and breathe on my garden plants, especially if they're not doing well, but I'll greet all of them and I'll just blow on them, say, hey, I'm here. I'm close, give me some tomatoes, all the things.
Yep.
So, I think that's a huge, good practice.
So
this is an example of how important touch is, though. So, yes, there have been studies done, but observation since a long time ago. And the one that comes to mind the most are the Russian orphanages from World War I and World War II.
Right.
There were so many infants that were orphaned, and they could not hold all of them. So when they cried, no one came, so they stopped crying. And then when people went in to rescue them, to improve the things, the children were non-responsive, because we have to share energy and be touched, especially as we develop our nervous system. That sharing of energy is what helps us develop into a viable adult. and these children were just non-responsive. They would stare. They were developmentally behind and
Disabled,
could
yeah.
never connect ever again.
It
So
stunted them.
they are stunted emotionally, and
Yeah.
that's how important the sharing of a mother or a
Just
caretaker.
another right, a caretaker, another human being. It doesn't even have to be the actual mother.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know just my mother's generation and my grandmother's generation, it was let the baby soothe itself, where let it cry and it'll sort it out and it'll fall asleep and all that. And I mean,
to a point, yes. But you're supposed to be nurturing that baby until it can figure out how to regulate its emotions.
And so I'm sorry, but just like sometimes with my plants, I become a murderer because I have smothered it to death. I'm like, okay, I'll try this, I'll try that. Just like
and it's
that.
Like, stop!
I was like that with my children. I was, my kids slept. We had the family bed. My kids were allowed to sleep in my bed. It was just, hugs and kisses were just a part of our everyday thing. So when my kids were babies, it was never, just let the baby cry. No, I could not. It kills me. I still to this day at 56 years old. Sorry, I'm getting all my business cards because the cat decided he wants me to play 52 pickup over here and knock everything off my desk. He's such a jerk.
Well, he's trying to maneuver it so that he can show us his bow.
Yeah. Well, he feeds my codependency. That's what cats do. They feed.
Yeah, he's pretty needy too.
Yes, he is very needy. He's over here. You can't see him, but he's over here licking his inner legs, back legs.
Nice.
You can't see it. But yeah, I just always was that kind of person. Like even at 56 years old in the grocery store, if I hear a baby crying or if I hear a kid wailing, "Mom," like that sounds lost, my heart just skips a beat. Like I'm like, all of a sudden your brain just kicks, at least my brain just kicks back into mom mode. So
that's an actual thing. We are chemically made as women to react to a baby's cry, distress of another person.
Right.
That is hardwired into our brain. A lot. I know when I hear little puppies crying or something happens with the dogs, my uterus will literally start to hurt. Like, oh my God, I have to help it. And I know a lot of human mothers or human women have that really hard response to an infant crying as well. I don't have it deep like that. I mean, yes, I hear a distressed infant and I want to help it, but some of us women are super in tune with that. Melissa at Spala Paw is like that. She always has baby fever. She already has 4 children, but she's like, oh, I want another baby. I'm like, you really don't. Stop that right now. She's like, oh, but when I look at him and hear him cry, she's just like super mother nurturer.
That's how I am. I'm weird. I'll be like, people have their baby in the shopping cart or whatever, and I'll be like, oh my God, how precious. And I always think, oh, God love them, or God bless them. And I've had a lady at Costco had the baby, and it was maybe 4 or 5 months old, and she was cooing and laughing and everything, and I was like talking to her while we were in the long lines at Costco, and she was like, for me to pick her up. And I said, oh, can I pick her up? And the lady said, oh yeah, go ahead. She's fine. And she picked her up, and I was just in heaven. My husband said I was like glowing. All I could do was just smelling her. I was just like,
a little fresh human.
Yes. I was like, oh my God, you are just right out of the biscuit can, honey. Aren't you?
Right out of the biscuit can.
I was like, you are just so adorable. And I gave her back, and she checked out, and then we checked out, and my husband's like, he's like, you really love babies, don't you? I said, I honestly, I love humans. I love them in all different forms. And I said, and he said, oh, the girls got to have some babies. I said, I keep saying it. My four daughters are like,
Oh my
no.
gosh. The minute she gets a grandchild, folks,
Oh, yeah.
she's just going to be insufferable.
I
Okay.
have a grandson, but he's 13, so he
Right.
certainly does not want. Yeah, he nicknamed me Gma, because I'm the OG. So, and I am the OG, the oily groomer. So when he was little, he was like, he just started calling me Gma. And but now he's 13, and so I get hugs like this, like, okay,
He just suffers through it.
Yes, exactly. It's like you're talking to him, and he has one little earbud in, and he's like, so. But yes, I think I really do enjoy humans at all different stages of life. Like I've worked with teenagers. I used to when my kids were small. I even worked in the nursing homes for quite a while. I did what was called the 11th hour, which is part of a hospice program where you sit with people who are transitioning, crossing over, dying, actively dying. And I found that to be extremely fulfilling.
Yeah, that's not for the weak of heart. That's for sure. That's hard to watch, but very compassionate. If you can see it for what it is, just a natural process of the human condition or any living being's condition.
Yeah. That's how I wound up developing the class that I talk about, the transitioning and dealing with dogs that are getting ready to transition. And because it's such a hard thing for us as groomers to deal with. When they bring that pet in for the very last groom and you just fall apart usually.
Yeah, it's going to be the last or the second to the last
right.
one. It's inevitably coming.
And
so
if
you've groomed for any length of time and seen a puppy from puppyhood to their adult and dying years, you know exactly what I mean. And it's nothing to dread. I don't think you should dread it. It's a natural course of life. And if you can just love them through it, it's not easy. It's not easy, but it's very fulfilling to help someone through.
But the touch is a part of that. Your touch, your intention is very much a part of that time with that animal. It can relay so much more than just words can. So, and the same thing with the owner who is, suffering. So just a touch on the shoulder, a pat on the back, those kind of things, you can pass that loving energy through you to them in that moment as well. So touch is really an incredible thing. It really is. I mean, it's something that I think just switches up, or I shouldn't say switches up. It activates something within us, especially when it's someone like you said, someone that and it's not just some random stranger being like, come and hug me,
Right.
But, just, I think it really activates something in us to want to receive that when we feel like we trust that other person.
Right. Well, it actually calms our nervous center and slows down our heartbeat. Touching actually does create chemical changes in the brain. It reduces heart rate, blood pressure, helps us to feel calmer and less stressed. Touch reduces the release of cortisol and seems to have a beneficial role in our immune response.
Which is cortisol is the stress hormone.
Touch can also strongly transmit a sense of being accepted and cared for and could reduce a sense of loneliness. And that's just the surface of what touch actually does.
Well, why do you think they bring dogs in for therapy, dogs into the hospitals?
Exactly. Because dogs are good at it already. They don't even have to practice. They're just like, come here, hug me, touch me.
Yep.
Because it feels good.
And it does all those things for us as human beings, just being able to pet that dog.
Yes.
So it is definitely something that is made for both species. You know what I mean? Like, we are so very interconnected. And so it makes things I don't know. I think it makes things a lot more whole. I think when you
Hmm.
have that and it can affect something like your biorhythm, like your
Hmm.
actual blood pressure, the way that
Hmm.
the blood is pumping through your body
Hmm.
just by, slowing down and petting an animal can have that quick of an effect on a human's body is really an incredible thing that I don't think we give a lot of credit to.
Exactly. A lot of people discount it like it's not important. We
Right.
probably, women more than men, but men also need hugs, and each hug should be at least 20 seconds or more for it to have a good benefit.
Yes.
Um, a hug unrequited, like if you just like, okay, hi, bye, and then walk away, you're like, oh, wait a minute, it wasn't complete because of
Right.
that connection. It takes about 20 seconds to intermingle those and make a bond from energy to energy.
Yes.
I use energy all the time when I'm healing skin. There is something to be said about, and this is why I do know now, especially from other people, it's hard to give somebody a recipe. I mean, yeah, it'll work, but a lot of what you do to heal that pet is while you're touching the pet and using all the right stuff in the right order, you have the intent that you're directing your energy into healing. And sometimes I feel like that's why it's important to know what the skin process look like when you read diagrams. Christine Pearson has some of the most beautiful diagrams I've ever seen, hand drawn, beautiful. She is an artiste. But if you look at diagrams, and you know what you're looking for when you're touching the pet, when you're in the thick of therapy, you can imagine the products or the ingredients touching and interacting with those and healing. And if you put that in your mind and shoot out that intent, that's as big as a healing tool as using the right shampoo or conditioner to me.
Well, I think also when you work with things like herbal, like a poultice or you're using that direct herb or oil. They have frequencies. They
Yes.
have energy frequencies. So they are also connecting with that energetic center of that animal or that human.
And I feel like our intent actually helps activate them to
Yeah,
their best ability. Yeah.
right. So everything has some sort of energetic pathway.
Hmm.
And I believe that animals and plants are we are designed to interconnect with them. That
Hmm.
our energy is looking for that energy.
Yes.
You know
Yes.
what I mean? Like it is that, like you said, like loneliness and those
Hmm.
kind of things. But it just is like when I held that baby, like I needed that little biscuit of a baby. I mean, it was such a little fat baby too. I
Hmm.
just wanted to like I get a little carried away, like I was like, oh my God, I could just eat you alive, with those
Uh-huh.
big fat rolls. But I needed that. Like some part of me just needed to connect with that baby. And that baby knew it. That baby was like, hey, pick me up,
I got something for you. Come here. Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
think
absolutely.
I think that dogs do that also.
Mhm.
That we, especially when they know you and when they come in the shop or you get them into the van or you see them for the first time for that particular appointment, a lot of them are happy to see you and they jump up and they want you to love on them. And that's an important part of connecting like that.
I
And
agree, and I think that it has a huge correlation, although I don't have a study pulled up or anything, but I'm sure that it has been studied. I think a lot of the mental health issues in our
yeah,
society may stem from one in one sense. I'm not saying this is the end all be all of it, but
right.
I'm leaning towards these people have an underdeveloped uh, nervous system because they literally did not get enough hugs intentionally. And I think with dogs as well, that's why we see dogs taken away from their mother too soon. Will have anxiety, will have developmental problems. Most of them can overcome those, but there's always a residue because when your nervous system is developing, uh, you're literally making pathways to all the parts of
Yes.
your body, to all the parts of your brain, and getting all connected. And if something is stunted here and there and whatnot, that I think that does set the seed. It plants the seed for a
Yes.
lifetime of insecurity, which I'm sure you can overcome with work. But wow, a lot of us start out with a deficit in hugs, in sharing that energy from a mother source. I just I do. I feel like that is a huge reason why people are just crazy sometimes.
Yeah.
And collectively, we're getting farther and farther apart instead of coming closer together and connecting in a healthy,
Right.
emotional sharing way.
Well, I think a big part also is as social media becomes this bigger thing with things like TikTok and the reels, and we see things that we may not normally see. Like I personally, obviously, I don't watch a lot of those things, but I do know that I've read articles about teens watching violence and that kind of stuff
Yeah.
other teens, and just schoolyard fights. And but now
Mhm.
this is not just the teens that are in the schoolyard. This
Mhm.
is around the world. This is being shown.
Adults.
Right.
At every level of development, you're seeing this more and more. And I think,
Right.
if you have, it starts with you. It starts with your intention. If you have the intention, like, well, I'm not going to look at anybody today, everybody's crazy and I'm not going to blah, blah. You're carrying that around and then multiplying it as you walk through
Yeah,
society. You
absolutely.
really have to have be aware of the energy you carry and that you're transmitting. I think it's really important to know those things.
I think
That way you can adjust.
yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say. I think anybody can be empathic. I think that it is something that's inherent in us. There's just different levels, and it's also a skill that you have to work on if you
Mm-hmm.
want to really be able to work in energy, and you feel like then you have to control it. Like I said earlier, if somebody starts to cry, I pick up on that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I work in a fairly large salon with a lot of different humans in different stages of their life. And sometimes I will be drawn to somebody in particular and I may not say anything to them, but even if I stand near them or go near them, I'll pick up on that energy and I might want to have to cry. Not cry for myself, but I just feel that emotion, when I'm
Mm-hmm.
near them. And so sometimes I'll just say, "Hey, you feeling okay? You doing all right today?"
Mm-hmm.
Or, I'm different. I tell people that I do care about, that I love them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll say, I love you, right? And
Mm-hmm.
if you need anything or you need an ear, let me know. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and I've had this happen with dogs. I've had it where I've worked on a particular client and I know that they have other animals in the house, or I know their family situation. And I'm like, hey, what's going on with him? I just got a weird vibe that he just wasn't himself and blah, blah. And one of my clients at one point was like, oh, my dad died and he lived with us and da, da, da. So yes, they mourn, they feel those, those kind of things where they can get depressed.
Yeah.
You talked about when you lost your little one that
Mm-hmm.
your other ones were in a mourning phase.
Mm-hmm. They're
So,
still recovering from that.
right,
They still look for her, which tells you dogs will look for you forever if you're bonded
right.
forever. I think the most heartbreaking thing is when you see those videos of people dumping dogs and they just
Yes.
wait there in the rain
Oh my
forever,
gosh.
forever.
I
It's
can't.
heartbreaking.
I watched that one where the lady videotaped it just to show what her dog would do. And I was in tears. I was just
Hmm.
heartbroken. I was like, I get it. Sometimes life makes you make very difficult, hard decisions. But sometimes there are other ways,
Well, in our society, we have developed a robust
Right,
place to either take your dog. Yeah, your dog might get put down because
right,
there's a glut of dogs needing homes. But would you rather let them go peacefully into that good night or
right.
starve to death on the street? Like,
Yeah,
it's just, that's the cruelest thing. No, they don't know how to survive in the wild. They don't have any instinct to do that. They have no training. Any
Right.
training they would have got would have been from their wild mama.
Right.
And they don't have that. So they become pariahs and they get into trash and this and that and the other. Uh, there is something that I know, baby. I know. And then there is a story I read or something. Somebody was saying something about seagulls. Seagulls are sky rats and they're gross and they get into the garbage and this, that, and the other. If you think about it, the seagull's job of its life is to clean up dead fish and stuff on the shorelines and
Right.
things like that. We are the ones that have created the trash piles and the midden heap and this, that, and the other. So obviously they're gonna congregate to that. But absolutely, I don't consider them sky rats at all. They're functioning as they were made to
Right.
function. And I'm not mad at them for being who they are. And a lot of people are just like, oh, I could just get rid of all of them. Well, then you'd have a lot of garbage. You'd be
Mhm.
sitting if you live on the coast, it would be unbearable. It would be so gross.
I think that we forget that again, that we are interconnected with nature and with nature's creatures, and that we remove ourselves so much from that we see nature as a nuisance,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't want to touch each other, we don't want to.
Right? That's a little crazy. That's a little
Yeah.
crazy. Even though I'm not a touchy-feely person, I
Yes, but
understand the need for connection.
right. And
Yeah.
so I feel like, that's a shame. It really is, because um it is such an inherent thing that
It's a need.
it is a
It's like
need.
food. You have to have it to be okay.
Yep.
Mhm.
And that's the thing, is I love this little parable. It's a Buddhist parable that Buddha, the student asked Buddha, what's the difference between like and love? And Buddha replied, when you like a flower, you pick it and possess it, and you stunt it, you stop it, it'll never grow again, and eventually it'll just die because it was removed from who it
Mhm.
was.
It's dead the moment that you pluck
Moment,
it.
exact. And if you love something, you admire it where it is, and you allow it to blossom and grow and do what it needs to do and be who it needs to be.
Right.
And that resonated so much with me that I was like, I completely understand that, because we, for some reason, always, like when I said, your intent for your massage or your groom session should never, the intent is never, this is how I'm going to make this work, or this is how this is going to go. No, the intent should be, I love you. Even if
Mhm.
I don't love you in the way that I love, Mr. Wu right here,
Mhm.
but I love you, that I'm going to do all I can to help you in this moment.
Mhm.
And so I'm not going to try to make you be something that you are incapable of being in this moment either.
Mhm.
A lot of groomers do that when they work with specific breeds, and they expect specific breeds to just act a specific way. And yes, they are hardwired for personality, or I shouldn't say personality, but they are hardwired for behavioral traits, because depending on the breed. But they all, like us, have individual personalities,
Mhm.
and that's what we're trying to connect with. And
Mhm.
let them, if the dog is anxious and it just is an anxious dog, it doesn't matter if it's a terrier or if it's a spaniel, or that doesn't make a difference. What makes the difference is that you accept it as an anxious dog, and you're going to adjust yourself to be able to work with that pet in that
Mhm.
bubble of anxiousness, and try to build a trust bond with it,
Mhm.
and not get frustrated.
Mhm. I think that's where some the good trainers out there understand this energy work very well, whether or not they name it that, whether or not they're even aware of that. Chrissy Newmeyer Smith and I were speaking, and we agree wholeheartedly that the dogs that have a high drive nervous system, like her border collies and this, that, and the other, everybody says, oh, you got to get their energy out. They got to get their energy out. The best thing you can do for a dog like that is teaching it how to be calm.
Right.
That's a gift to it because it already is, "Wah!" And the point of it is to teach them how to take a breath, how to stay calm, how to be at peace. And that's one of the most beautiful things that you can give them.
And calm is different than tired.
Quiet the mind.
Right. You can still be tired, but still be in an anxious loop.
I live like that.
Yeah, I know. He's not joking.
I am not joking. I'm a walking open nerve. I think that also once you get the hang of, and this is something that dogs have taught me over the years, I didn't start out like this. I started out doing probably everything wrong. I think a lot of people start out, you only know what you know, and you only know what the people around you can teach you. So, but I think that once you learn how to share that energy with a dog, it kind of teaches you how you should be all the time. All the time. You don't just have to do that, or you shouldn't just have to do that when you're working with an animal. But once you pull back and you learn that skill and you learn how to share that energy a little bit, you can walk through your life and really change a lot of different people, even though they're not aware of it. That woman at the grocery store in front of you who is frazzled or whatever, you can actually stand as near to her as is socially acceptable.
Yes, exactly.
If you're sharing your 6-foot zone of energy, that's ideal. And instead of saying, "Oh my gosh, that woman's having a day," or whatever, instead of saying that, say, "Okay, that woman's having a day. Let's push calm toward her." Yep. Because if we can get her energy a little bit calmer, she's going to have a better day, and we're going to be refreshed with that lowering of her energy a little bit, a lowering of her angst. Well, and you could actually live your life like that on the bus, at work, at the grocery store, at home with your own family. We tend to come home after a hard day and be like, "You know what? I don't want anybody to talk to me right now." They need you the most, and you need them the most in that moment.
Absolutely.
Breathe with them. Give everybody hugs. Soak in their energy because you've been depleted over your day. It's been a hard day. Instead of pushing them away, accept them in. You don't have to talk, but just give everybody hugs. Right. 20 seconds or more. That's going to help you immensely.
Well, and it doesn't reach out and touch somebody's paw does not necessarily mean that you have to physically touch them.
Correct.
You do not have to use it in the physical sense. You can use it in a more ethereal sense where it is an energetic exchange. I know because I journal, I give myself little challenges each day to either I have to say at a minimum 5 kind things to someone who I feel like is having a very unkind day. Mm-hmm. And that unkindness may be directed at me. So I have to find a way to say something kind to them because I have to realize that it's not always about me. I'm always working to not be an ego because
that is so hard. You hit the nail on the head. We all deal with that every day. And if you're aware of it, you deal with it even worse.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if I remain unchecked, I am a true 100%. I'm a Taurus. I'm a fixed earth sign. And I could very easily be an egomaniac. So it is no joke.
Yeah, everybody has the propensity to let their ego get carried away. It feels good, especially when you get applauded or somebody says something nice about you, and you have to take it in stride. Yes, you are very lovable and deserve care and love and whatnot. But if you get in your cups, if you get in your feelings, if you get in your ego, you're kind of shutting everybody out, and then you stop sharing. Yeah. The minute you're in your ego, your body does not share your energy in a good way with intentional kindness. So sometimes it does help to be humble. You should speak up for yourself and be confident. But you should also try and stay humble so you have that good balance. Otherwise, it gets skewed, and then you're in the same boat as everybody else, and you can't help anyone. The old adage in the airline industry, put an oxygen mask on yourself first before
Yep.
you help anybody else, because you're going to end up passing out, and then you can't help anyone at all.
Exactly.
So it's important to really do some self-observation on a daily basis and just check yourself a little bit. Hey, am I coming from a good place, or am I being all full of ego? You know what I mean? And you battle it every day. You know, we are human. No one is perfect. I have not seen a Buddha walk on the earth myself. And I know that we all are dealing with this and learning how to do this until the very end. So absolutely just check yourself on a daily basis, or check yourself after an interaction. If it came from ego, you can say, you know what, wait a minute. That was messed up. I'm sorry. I did not mean it with that intention. This is what I meant. And just calm everybody down, make sure that you're heard, and then just back away slowly so you don't hurt yourself and others. There you go.
I'm back. Internet's going in and out. Maybe this is a good time to jump ship here. I'm like, my little thing is spinning and I don't know what's going on.
I pulled you back in.
Thank you. With that said, guys, I'm going to jump out really quick. I'm going to handle a little thing over here real quick. Michelle, I'll let you close out. I'll be right back for our next.
Yeah, well, let's close out now, and then you can go handle it. All right, we're going to, so you can end a little early, I guess.
Thank you.
All right, folks, go out and touch somebody's paw. Think nice thoughts. Intention is purposeful, and it means a lot. It means more than you think. If you're bitter and angry inside, do some inner work and find a place where you can care for people again. Care for yourself and care for others. Be the love you want to see in the world, and may your next sip be just as delicious as your last. And we'll see you soon.